Welcome to The Poetry Joint, a podcast about poets, poems, and poetics. My name, Stephen Donahue. I have a scant knowledge of poetry, and that is the starting point for this podcast, to see what I can learn.
There's a light on in the attic. I can see it from the outside, and I know you're on the inside. Looking out.
Exploring good poetry, bad poetry, sonnets, couplets, ballads, rhyme, no rhyme, grand verse, silly verse, concrete poetry, liquid poetry, words with meaning, words without meaning, old poets, young poets, radical poets, ancient poets, contemporary poets, confessional poets.
Angel-headed hipsters, burning for the ancient heavenly connection to the starry dynamo in the machinery of night.
The Poetry Joint. Hang out. See where we go. So we gather by the candlelight with a glass of wine and poetry. Poetry for tomorrow, the winter solstice, the longest night of the year. In Persian tradition, the winter solstice is Yalda, a celebration of light over darkness. On the table, pomegranates and watermelon, the red color of the coming dawn. Some dried fruits and nuts, some delicious pastries. Most certainly we will share poems as we stay up late into the night. Poems that will tell us of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. First, this short quatrain from 12th century Persian poet, astronomer, and mathematician Omar Khayyam, translated in 1903 by Edward Fitzgerald. For in and out, above, about, below, 'tis nothing but a magic shadow show, played in a box whose candle is the sun, round which we phantom figures come and go. Although he is not with us anymore, here is a poem my father wrote. Not a poet or a writer, a few poems were found amongst his papers. 96th Street. Lady, can you spare a smile? It's so lonely in this strange place. Just any smile will do. On the street today, we shared a cup or two of wine and broke stale bread together. We asked some passing ladies if they would like to see paradise. They told us, go to hell instead. I thought I saw your son, my brother, lying broken in an alley, but I'm not sure. Lady, can you spare a smile? It's so lonely in this strange place. Just any smile will do. 96th Street, the poem by Joseph Donahue. A man of faith, fought in a war, devoted lots of volunteer hours to social causes in Edmonton's Boyle Street area. Lived a life of curiosity and wonder. Here is a poem from his great-grandson.
I am Eagle by Finnbar Donahue. I'm Eagle flying above a river. I'm hunting for dinner. Using my built-in phone, I see something. It is in the river. I swoop down and catch a fish. I screech success. Dinner is served.
Bernard O'Donoghue is an academic and poet from Cullen, County Cork in Ireland. As an academic, served as fellow and tutor in medieval English literature and English language at Wadham College, Oxford. As a poet, he has published 7 collections of poetry His collection, titled Gunpowder, won the 1995 Whitbread Prize for Poetry. His poetic style has been described as one where the story is more important than the ideas. As far as I know, we are not related, and just sharing this poem of Bernard's for this long night.
After my father died, the man who bought the farm died very quickly. He died even younger. He died when he was 42. He just dropped dead of a heart attack. But it's called weakness, that term for fainting that in lots of languages, including Irish, tete liga, meaning to pass out, to have a weakness. The weakness. It was the frosty early hours when finally the cow's despairing groans rolled him from bed and into his boots, hardly awake yet. He called, "Dan, come on, Dan, she's calving," and stumbled without his coat down the icy path to the haggard. Castor and Pollux were fixed in line over his head, but he didn't see them this night any more than another. He crossed to the stall, past the corner of the fairy fort he'd levelled last May. But this that stopped him, like the mind's step backward, what was that? More insistent than the calf's birth pangs. "Hold on, Dan, I think I'm having a weakness." "I never had a weakness, Dan, before." And down he slid, groping for the lapels of the shocked boy's 20-year-old jacket. Died at a Cork Kerry league match in 1962. He died when he was 52. So I remember calculating, because his birthday was the same time of the year as mine, the actual day when I had lived longer than him, which is a curious kind of anniversary, and not one that you can, of course, celebrate in any way or mark in any way, really. The day I outlived my father. Yet no one sent me flowers or even asked me out for a drink. If anything, it makes it worse, your early death, that having now at last outlived you, I too have broken ranks, lacking maybe the imagination to follow you in investigating that other, older world. So I am in new territory from here on, must blaze my own trail, read alone the hoof tracks in the summer-powdered dust, and set a good face to the future. At liberty at last, like mad Arnaut, to cultivate the wind, to hunt the bull on hareback, to swim against the tide.
Clara Joseph was one of the many fine poets I met this year. Her work in the Department of English at the University of Calgary keeps her teaching, researching, and mentoring. She has published 2 volumes of poetry and shares this poem tonight.
Absolutely. Now, this is going to be very ironic. I said I didn't want anything so gloomy, but this poem is titled "She Died 3 Days Before Christmas." And this is an experience my husband and I experienced, actually, my husband's mother. And we were a bit late setting up the tree for Christmas. But we did, as we get into the week of Christmas, that's when we got things out. And so my husband brought this is an artificial tree, and he brought it from the garage. But when he brought it from the garage, I was a little worried if, there would be mice, because it was in the garage along with the leaves. I was a little afraid of that. And anyway, we ultimately set up this tree and we switched on the light. And then at that very moment, he and I experienced a presence in the room that made the light so much bigger. Both of us experienced this, and it was just so beautiful. This tree became so beautiful. And I know it's partly because of the light of the tree, but it was also something beyond. And just at that minute, the phone rang. And I went and picked it up, and the news was that my mother-in-law passed away that minute. So she died 3 days before Christmas. The stand and the trunk and the myriad leaves, shouts of insanity, are from the clutter called a corridor. The skirt, rustic red and black, awaits the will of man and wife, settles at weight of stand and trunk, branches of human engineering and lessons. Long first, not this, try another, okay, got it, where, that, goes there, you do it, a peck on the cheek, self-congratulating, a hug undone, gift boxes unopened, look, suspect. The lights taken out twirl the Tannenbaum. Tall, he lifts an angel for tree-topper. She squats by the cord for Redstead Go, looking for, frightened at an imaginary scuttle of garage mice from a past Christmas. At the awaited signal, she flicks the switch for Fiat Lukes and rices. They stand back and are taken aback by more than electricity, a visitation of loving admiration. No divinity can surpass this maternal presence, and the light brightens manifold at sheer joy and gasp. Just then the phone rang. The long-distance chime from 2 dawns before Christmas, India. And they wept for the light.
Another of the poets I had the pleasure of conversing with this year was Phyllis Rathwell, who brings us sensitivity and sensibility tied to the world of ranching, the hardships and pleasures and perspectives that experience provides. She has published 2 books and released a CD of her poetry. Near the end of our conversation, she quickly added this poem, which we'll play tonight. I'm thinking of a friend I grew up with, went out to the Okanagan, Penticton area to do some, help out with some ranching from one of his neighbors in the city. He grew up to be executive for various organizations, but they introduced him to prairie oysters because he was that time of year.
Yep. I'm going to give you one more quick one. You know, this is called counting. We often get caught up in the counting that we do. We count cows and bales and acres. Bills, too many. Bucks, too few. Should more often count our blessings, calves that lived and hay that grew, memories shared, good times together, friends and neighbors, tried and true. Thanks for giving me a call.
In Calgary, Scott Alderson was the street poet of Stephen Avenue Mall and Eau Claire, with occasional forays into Kensington. He also rode the streets of Calgary as a bicycle courier. He has written 9 books of poetry. Born in Edmonton in 1964, he began his poetry journey officially in 1983. Diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis in 2022, he continues to write poetry and brings his street style to YouTube and his Facebook page.
Pondering. She said she needed proof of God's existence, so I showed her a sunrise in Banff. Not good enough. I introduced her to my friend who survived cancer, watched newborns in a maternity ward, waited patiently for first blade of grass. What more do you need? I inquired. Positive proof, she declared while exiting. The car crash was an accident, always is. Most would have died. She sat silently beside her wreckage and cried. I understand now, she exclaimed to me. Proof has nothing to do with pudding. It lies in survival. One day at a time struggles. Proof. Your number is called, or not. God is love, I proclaimed. We kissed and walked away, pondering.
With no slight to Scott, perhaps the most famous contemporary street poet in North America was Lewis Thomas Harden, born in 1916, better known as Moondog. Blinded at the age of 16, he lived a most eccentric life of wandering. From the late 1940s to 1972, on a street corner in New York City, dressed in his pseudo-Viking medieval-inspired garb, Moondog wrote his music, sold copies of his sheet music and his poetry, drank coffee and conversed with passerbys. His poems were often simple couplets like this: "We were few and far between in prehistoric times, and will be few and far between in post-historic times." Perhaps a Moondog song for this night? Oh, by the way, he took his name Moondog because he once owned a dog that liked to howl at the full moon. Perhaps we can rename this month's full moon for this year as the Moondog Full Moon. All is Loneliness by Moondog. Loneliness, often an overwhelming feeling for many people this time of year, with gatherings and sharings happening. Reach out where you can. Also, shelter for many people becomes an issue this time of year, especially in our harsh winters, and thankfully there are organizations that attempt to address those problems. Poet Guy Chambers with his take on sheltering.
Sheltering, an ear whisper beyond means, seemly outjust for the hurting. Skin to the bones, known to the lone. Dry eyes, not much to see. Lonely cry within a sigh. Sheltering, endless pain in a plentiful world. An ear whisper through the alley. Ghostly ashes in the trash. Fingernails scraping in the dumpster. For a mouse nibbling in the spoilings. Sheltering endless pain in a plentiful world. An ear whisper, a child staring at the chalkboard. Strained veins, breathing weak, enduring fatigue. Wishful for a bellyful, sheltering endless pain in a plentiful world. An ear whisper, out of sight in the moonlight, dusk in the footsteps, tears in silence. Darkness settled in, of many, tells it all, written on the wall, sheltering endless pain in a plentiful world. An ear whisper, imposed, damned, bare hand, reach out for handouts. Belittle, muffle, face without meaning. To what ends? Sheltering endless pain in a plentiful world. Why? Why?
Another poet for this night. Her poetry I've discovered only recently. I'll allow her to introduce herself.
My name is Kass Morgan. I live in Cranbrook, British Columbia, at the foot of the Rocky Mountains. Stephen has graciously invited me to share a poem on the poetry joint. I am going to prevail upon his graciousness and share 2 poems. A bit of an introduction. In 2022, I participated in Art with Heart and Hope, a show curated by Beyond My Battle in Saratoga Springs, New York. This makes me sound important, a poet with a capital P. My submission was a piece incorporating one of my poems into a work of visual art, a new venture for me. In the summer of that year, there was to be an outdoor festival of the arts here in Cranbrook, multidisciplinary in scope. It occurred to me that I might be able to display the same piece locally. I sent the coordinator an email which said, "Just wondering whether a piece of poetry in a visual, hangable format would be appropriate for this show." She replied, "Yes, we would love to showcase all mediums of art. If it is heavy, it might be a bit tricky as we are in a wall tent. Would the piece be able to be displayed on an easel?" I was somewhat mystified by this, but responded, "The piece will be framed to hang or displayed on an easel as you see fit." Several weeks later, I brought my piece to the coordinator for the festival. When I unwrapped it, she looked startled. "Oh," she exclaimed, "I thought you said pottery." Communication is a recurring theme in my writing. That exchange gave rise to the following poem, entitled "This is Not a Pome," a P-O-M-E being a fleshy fruit such as an apple or a pear. This is not a poem. I wanted to bring you poetry. You thought I meant pottery. A vessel easily shattered, were all the shards gathered and pieced back together, it still wouldn't hold water. I said, "No, it is a poem." You answered, "What? A poem?" An apple, perhaps, or a pear, sweet to the tongue, yet so quickly consumed, and the core tossed in the trash. I tried again. Said, "This is verse." Eyes wide, you replied, "Did you say curse? Spoken, sung, or chanted? Profanity or worse? Uttered to invoke damnation or destruction?" So I kept it simple. I said, "Here, these are my words." And you saw birds, soaring overhead, wings outstretched, stark against the sky. I can live with that. My second poem is the one that was not pottery after all, and which was placed on an easel and shown at the Arts Festival. Listen. I wish that words would fall the way dawn caresses pink petals of cloud floating above distant hilltops, and the rosy glow flows down till all is light. Instead they tumble, a clumsy heap of fractured bricks from a crumbling building, crushed by the weight of itself, till all is dust and brokenness. If only our voices would be as the touch of a breeze through an open window, a whisper awakening, an invitation, a breath of life. Instead, our rasping cries, like chainsaws ripping through dense forest, the crash of falling trees, signaling one death after another. I long for a language with wings. This poem, my prayer. Listen. Thank you for listening.
Shab-e-Shalah, or Yalda, in Persian culture is the last night of autumn. I'm so grateful for learning of this idea of poetry being a part of celebration and gathering and sharing. This Persian tradition, which probably stretches hundreds of years, seems so civilized. Helping me this episode, Mansour Noorbakhsh, he allowed me to mispronounce his name if I've gotten it wrong. He is a poet, writer, and contributor to Persian radio broadcasts in Canada, often translating the work of English-speaking Canadian poets into Farsi for his audience. He writes in English and Farsi and has generously provided this poem in Farsi for this long night. Thank you, Mansour.
شب یلدا. ای چله در آغوش تو امید بهاره، دیدم نفست گرمه و چشمات خماره. ما با تو نشستیم که آروم برقصی، یادت نره باید شب تو روز بیاره. امشب دل من با تو به شیرینی سیبه، هرچند زمونه جگرش مثل اناره. گفتی که شب آشفته و طولانی و سرده، بگذار دلت گریه کنه خوب بباره. دیدم که ستاره به امید دل ما بود، تا صبح نگاهی به من و چشم تو داره. امشب تو بگو قصه که تا صبح بشینیم، یک امشب ما فرصت آغوش و کناره. ای چله بیا باز شبی زمزمه سر کن، لبهای تو شیرینی و موهات ستاره. یک لحظه اگه بیشتر فرصت امشب، شادیم به اون لحظه که عمری به شماره.
And this translation of that poem for me to read. O Chela, the hope of spring lies within your arms tonight. I feel the warmth of your breath with your drunken eyes tonight. We sit to watch your elegant, slow dance, lest you forget to bring us daylight tonight. My heart is as sweet as an apple with you, though the heart of bloody Era looks like pomegranates tonight. You said, our night is chaotic, long and cold. Let your heart cry freely like rain tonight. I saw the hopeful stars counting on our hearts. They watch us wordly at me and your eyes tonight. Tell us a story to sit and listen till dawn. That's our only chance for warm cuddles tonight. Oh, Chela, come and whisper a song again. Your lips are our pastry, and your hair is our musical instrument tonight. Though tonight is only one moment longer than the others, but rejoicing, this moment is worth our lives tonight. Thank you for all who have contributed your poems for tonight's episode. See you again in a month's time. This is Stephen Donahue with the Poetry Joint. May all your holiday celebrations
Be joyous.